Today we're going to talk about bones. In last lecture we talked about cartilages, right? And we mentioned or we talked about what you call achondroplasia, a condition, right? A disorder, a genetic disorder we often call that, right? And today's lecture, I'm not going to focus about microscopic anatomy of the bone, but what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to introduce you to the bone, and I'm going to talk about some functions of bone, and I'm going to touch on embryonic development. And remember that in today's lecture it might not be that much important, and I might not talk greater details, right? But this is a framework, and this is a way how I can familiarize you to the topic of bones, and from now you can understand how bones and the cartilages are connected with each other, and how embryonic development can occur. And remember that embryonic development itself is a very vast topic, and we'll cover that in future lecture in greater detail also. Okay, so let's dive into today's topic. So here is a nice picture, right? And this guy is very comfortable. I think he's sitting right there, right? I think he might try to eat something, but I don't see anything here, right? What does that mean? That means we don't have any muscle mass here, right? We have only bones. So bones are rigid body tissues, right? And bone is found only in vertebrates. You know that because you've grown up, right? So it is only found in what? Vertebrates. Okay, this is important. One thing you need to know: vertebrates. When talking about bones, we're talking about vertebrates. Okay. Now, bones are living tissue. These are what? Living tissue. What does that mean? That means like muscles, right? Like other connective tissues, epithelial tissues, right? These are also considered as living tissues, okay? And the adult skeleton, right? This is the adult one, okay? This skeleton has 206 bones. If you count it, you will get it. Okay, right now I don't expect you to memorize the name of these all 206 bones, but you will definitely need to know for your anatomy practical, right? Where they're going to ask you, name this bone, what is this, right? And we'll talk about that when we are going to focus on a skeletal system in future lecture also. But for now, for adults, we have a 206. Okay, now, but remember that we burn with about 300 soft bonds though. Okay, 300 soft bonds. No, and these 300 soft bonds, basically how they are turned into 206 bonds then. One hypothesis is they might fuse together. Yeah, you're right. The soft bonds fuse with each other, and they're gonna give rise into 206 bonds. Okay, and remember that the soft bonds, or what I mean by soft bonds means like cartilages. Okay, they grow and replaced with hard bonds. Okay, as you can see here, these hard bonds look. It looks very tough, right? If it is not tough, then how you gonna walk? How it's gonna provide you, such type of protection like visceral organ. We'll talk about that, that functions in short moment. For now, you need to understand that bones are only present in vertebrates. These are living tissues. In adults, you have 206 bones, but in newborns, you have 300 soft bones, right? These soft bones, which we often call as a cartilages, they're going to fuse together, replaced, and something like that, and they're going to turn into 206 bones. Okay, that's one thing you need to note. And from here, we just like think about, like, we have a different structure of bones, as you can see here, and that we also talk about while we're gonna focus on skeletal system. Okay, so here we go. We're going to talk about function now. Okay, what are the main functions of the bone? So look, this guy pretty dancing, I think, right? Okay, so the support. Okay, the function is what? Support. The main function is support, right? And you will often come up with the vocabulary. It is a common vocabulary called framework. Okay, the, okay, so the framework, it is a framework of the body, and it contribute to the shape, right? If you look the human skull, right, the facial bones, they're gonna give you the shape. That's why we are different from other, right? Our facial change, our face changes, right, over time because of the bone growth also. So bones basically play a role or contribute to the shape of the human body. And think about the alignment, how you're going to position your body, right? This all depends upon the it depends upon these these uh, you know scary looking structures called bones, right? Okay, so bones also provide you another called protection. Okay, what do I mean by that? Look, these ribs, these are ribs bones, right? What they are protecting? They are protecting heart, they are protecting your lungs and other visceral organs, right? So they have a protective role. Here you can see three different types of blood cells: RBCs, WBCs, and platelets. So that means it has the role in called hematopoiesis. I think this is right spelling, but we can check it again. Hematopoiesis is basically production of these RBCs, WBCs, and platelets. Okay. Now, in the bone, there are two types of bone marrow. One is called red, another is called yellow. Okay, red and the yellow. Red bone marrow is more for these blood cells production, okay, called hematopoiesis. Red blood cells is more for hematopoiesis, right? And they do have low number of adipocytes. Okay, they do have what? Low number of decreased number of adipocytes. Adipocytes. What does that mean? That means they do not, play a role, or they do not have any role, that much in role in energy, right? But yellow bone marrows, right? Yellow marrows also present in the bone, right? But the main function of yellow bone marrow is to store triglycerides. Okay, they store what? They store triglycerides, also known as fats, and they provide you what? What is this? Energy. Okay, and they have high number of adipocytes. That's why they are more more useful for energy production or energy storage, right? Remember that when you lose lots of blood, these yellow bone marrows can revert into the red bone marrows, so you can produce these RBCs, WBCs, and platelets. And you know the function, right? RBCs, oxygen carrying, right? WBCs, immune defense, platelets, think about blood clotting, right? So that's why it is important for yellow bone marrows to convert into red marrows when there is a severe blood loss due to trauma or due to accident. Now, here in the middle, I'm going to talk about called minerals. Okay, the bones also store minerals like calcium, phosphorus. That's why people take calcium supplement, right, for the bone growth, right? They have a role. These bones actually store these minerals. Okay. Now, bones and the muscles gonna work together, and they're gonna work as a lever, right? Think about this. If you put some dumbbell here, right, and if you're trying to lift this up, these muscles gonna, they're gonna what? Contract, and they're gonna bring this arm up, right? Now you are exercising, right? So that means these muscles, okay, and the bone gonna work together, right? And they're gonna give you a leverage. Okay, and it is very important, right? We need leverage, right? So that's one thing you need to note. Okay, now let's move on. Okay, I'm gonna talk about embryonic development. Now here, embryonic development, this is embryonic development, from here to shell, right? And it's the multiple cells, it's the fetus is growing. Now it's at 38 weeks. Now you have to come out, right? Okay, the parturition process, you know. um, Now, here it is a general idea, right? It is a, as you can see here, right? This is a time frame, right? This is a time frame going like that, right? But main thing you need to understand here is bone growth starts, right? Bone growth will start like somewhere here, right? I'll tell you that in short moment. But before I go there, you need to know this term called ossification. Ossification. Ossification is basically what it is it is a process of bone development. Okay, this is a process of bone development. And ossification is often known as osteogenesis also. Osteogenesis. Okay. Now, ossification starts approximately 6 weeks after fertilization in an embryo. Okay. Now, bone tissue formation occurs by two processes. Okay, so two processes, let's say two ways, right? Ossification can occur. One of the way is called intramembranous ossification. Intramembranous, okay, ossification. And another one is called the endochondrial ossification. Okay, so these are the two ways that that's going to lead into the formation of the bone, right? Now, intramembranous ossification, it occurs like first few months after birth. It happens, right? Just few months. Okay, remember that the development of this intramembranous ossification occurs via this development from the fibrous membrane. Okay, fibrous membrane, okay, is very important for this. And this intramembranous ossification gonna give rise into called as a flat bones. These are types of bones, okay, based on shape, right? Flat bones. It includes, like, let's say clavicle, right? It includes what else? Okay, mandible, skull, right? And pelvis. There are others also, but these are main things, right? So intramembranous ossification gonna give rise into flat bones. This is very important, flat bones. Endochondrial ossification gonna give rise into other bones except flat bones. Okay, except flat bones. In the case of endochondrial ossification, bone develops. Okay, bone develops from hyaline cartilage. Okay, here bone develops from fibrous membrane. Here bone develops from hyaline cartilage. Okay, that's important. And we'll talk about endochondrial ossification in next lecture also, where we can talk about, let's say, primary ossification center, secondary ossification center, right? And those type of things. But before I end today's lecture, right, I just want to give you some important concepts. Okay, so here in future lecture we'll talk about more about bones, but last lecture we talked about cartilage, right? Now today we just introduced to the bone. The main thing here is bones, right? They have a bidirectional growth. Okay, that means it grows in two ways. Cartilage, they do have only unidirectional growth. Okay, unidirectional growth. And this is one of the difference. We'll talk about difference between cartilage and bones in future lecture also. And we talked about like during development, cartilages basically turned into bones, right? That's why they should have some sort of like similar structure, right? We'll talk about that in greater detail in future lecture also. Now another thing you need to understand here is bone growth continues until approximately age 25. Okay, so if this is a bone, let's say, the thickness can change over time, right? It can decrease or it can increase, right? It might change. The thickness all the time is changing, let's say, right? But the length, though, this length might not. If you have abnormal condition, then the length might change. But in normal condition, it is 25, the length gonna stop. And why is that? That's the answer gonna be in the next lecture when we're gonna talk about endochondral ossification. Okay, now after age 40, right? After age 40, what happens? Okay, we start to lose bone mass loss. That's going to lead into the condition called osteoporosis. Okay, so loss of bone mass is called osteoporosis. This is important also. Okay, now my advice. Okay, you need to join the fitness center or you need to join the gym. Do exercise, okay, and eat healthy. Okay, if you do these two things, you're definitely going to improve your bone health. Okay, now you got some advice, right? Okay, thank you for watching. I'll see you in next lecture. Take care. Bye-bye.